Hey guys, how's it going? I am joining you today for a book review, and I know, you almost fell off your seat in excitement, but bear with me because this is actually going to be a good one. If you are already part of the journey, then welcome back. If you are new here, my name is Sara Zwink. I am going to be a chiropractic student in about 2 weeks, so we're just starting the journey. I am sharing as much of it as possible with you here on this platform, as well as my Instagram, Facebook page. All that's linked below. These are just kind of the obligatory things I like to get out of the way. I do post a new video every week, so I do hope you go ahead and subscribe and stick around. But let's go ahead and dive into this book, because I'm not going to say we're going to make this a long video, but I do have a lot to say. This book is called Cast to be Chiropractors. It's by Dr. Liam Schubel and Dr. Judd O'Grady. They're both chiropractors. I am a little bit nervous because I'm pretty sure I have them both on Facebook, and I have a feeling that at least one of them is going to watch this video. So we're going to get down to it. I have just a couple notes here. The green and clear tape ones are things that I thought were great or interesting or pros. I do have a couple pink ones that are some cons though. So we're gonna make this a full-on review, critique, all that good stuff. I'm gonna start with just talking about the setup of the book. Then I'm gonna go in what I have labeled as 3 different categories, which are things they mentioned that I thought helped to inspire, tips they mentioned that I thought helped kind of in a business sense or just good life lessons, and then kind of real life situations that I think shed some light on some challenges in the chiropractic profession, just kind of some real life kind of stuff. So let's get into it. The book, again, is called Cast to be Chiropractors, a story about how to develop a lifetime passion for chiropractic. So the way the book is set up, I think, is interesting. They kind of bounce between each other's stories and each other's approaches with chiropractic. The beginning of the book, they start with what brought them to chiropractic in their personal life and then led them to their decision to be a chiropractor. It walks through their experiences in school, graduating, and then first starting their practices, and a little bit of follow through after the years of them practicing as well, and different challenges and celebrations they had on that. In the middle, you do have a couple photos of them that relate to different stories they've shared, which I like because it's just a personal touch. You get to feel like you know the authors a little more, and I feel like that's always a plus. If we jump right into my notes here, then let's start with the inspire ones. And I don't know how well you can see that, but I have a lot of eyes. I'm a very organized person. But I have a lot of eyes labeled here, so let's see what I found to be particularly inspiring. On the very first page, and this is from Dr. Judd O'Grady's perspective, it says, "We must ensure that the greatest discovery and healing is kept sacred, and most importantly, that is shared with all humanity." Now I love that because that talks about how we need to keep chiropractic kind of at its roots with what it is. And also, if you want to see a video about how I explain what chiropractic is, then by all means let me know. I think I need to do that. I know I need to do that in Portuguese because I also post videos in Portuguese. But maybe I'll do that in English as well. But we'll save that for another time. But I like how he talks about keeping it to the roots of what chiropractic is, and kind of touches from the get-go about how this is for all humanity. Like, this isn't for people with back pain. This is literally helping the nervous system function at its best, which is for every human, therefore for humanity. How could that not be a good thing for every single human to experience? So I like that they throw that in the beginning. On the very next page, he talks about they threw this book together because we want chiropractors and lay people alike to live the life they deserve, which I think is a great reason to write a book. One thing that is shared through them sharing their stories to chiropractic is the reflection of their why. And you may hear chiropractors talk about that a lot, but it's literally like the why do you do what you do? And that's a really good thing to remember when you're discouraged about the path or you're tired. You gotta remember in any area of life, this is not by all means just for chiropractors, but you have to remember, why are you doing this? Like for a parent, why do you get up in the morning when you're exhausted? Because you have kids who you're helping raise. Why do you want to be a chiropractor and help adjust people? Because you know that this is gonna help them live lives to their fullest potential and make the world a better place. Cheesy, but damn true. There's something that Dr. Liam says in the beginning of the book that I particularly appreciate because I grew up homeschooled, I'm kind of awkward, who also makes YouTube videos. Like, it's not the cool thing cool person thing to do. See, I can't even say that correctly. But one of the first lines that I've read this book twice now that I even outlined the first time I read it was, "Now, however, I realize that not being part of the in crowd is a valuable experience for being a chiropractor." I love that. I'm already used to being the weird one and doing things a little bit differently. Something else he says, he did well in school, not because he was the smartest in class, but because he never gave up. And I just think that's a nice lesson to remember anyway. So much of succeeding is just not giving up. This is why I say this book is inspiring. Something Dr. Liam shared on his path back to chiropractic was his mother's chiropractic talked to him about it, and he told me that a chiropractic was about restoring life and that I, as a chiropractor, could liberate the potential of humanity with a chiropractic adjustment. I mean, guys, we're literally talking about bettering this world. And, you know, I'm not going to say that I personally am like the nicest, softest, gentlest human, but I will say that in between all my sarcasm and sass, I just genuinely want to help make this world a better place. You know, I don't care too much about a legacy, but I figure, hey, while I'm here, let's see what we can do to help others. And I know maybe that's not everyone's call, and maybe that's not what could bring someone to chiropractic, but just for me, the idea of when you physically feel better, when you even subconsciously don't even realize, but now you're functioning at a higher level, you just kind of inherently do better in life, you know? For me, at first, kind of was a physical thing. I wanted to not have general aches and pains and whatnot. But then it turned into so much more of a mental health idea, and I'm still discovering all of this. I'll share it with you as I learn, so I have everything left to learn. But I just love that idea that we can operate and feel better, and therefore do better physically in our daily lives and our daily motions. Like, who wouldn't want that? I mean, I literally could talk about this for hours. It's insane. Anyway, they talk about different struggles chiropractic can face and is facing in the world. At this point, he talked a little bit about the abuse of pharmaceuticals. And the end part of that ultimately makes me categorize this under inspirational is that imagine humanity undrugged and living life to its full potential. Because not to say that drugs are bad, medical doctors are bad. I know sometimes people think there's this huge, well, I'm not going to say there's not a war going on between all of that, but that's a whole other discussion. But I think any medical doctor, doctor of chiropractic, anyone who in the health field that actually cares about their patient, about their practice member, and wants them to be doing well, will agree that the fewer medications you're taking, the better. And when your nervous system is working at its best, that means your body is working at its best, and you might not need medications as much. As you get further into the book, and they're talking about their time in the student clinic and their time in their own practices, they share a couple success stories that, and I don't consider myself that much of an emotional human, but man, they brought me to tears because, I mean, obviously they picked the most impactful ones they could for this book, but at the same time, I've heard so many amazing success stories that it kind of creates this yearning in you to want that for yourself and for other people. And so that's another reason why I think this book should honestly be almost like a must-read for student chiropractors. But if you follow me on social media, you'll see that I've kind of been struggling lately. I'm in this weird transition before school starts, but I'm already moved and settled into the area at my new home, which is very exciting. But it's kind of like, all right, what do I do with my days? And I was getting really discouraged about life, and even though I love chiropractic so much, it's hard to remember your why sometimes, especially when you haven't even started school. And I think this book, for myself, it was a great reminder. And I am really thankful that I picked it up again, because I kind of think it was like the little churning of the water that I needed to remind myself to keep moving forward with a really positive mindset about this, because it's the right choice for me. Moving on to the segment about realness in chiropractic, there's one section towards the beginning where Dr. Judd talks about how he had seen a chiropractor, hadn't seen any results, and was in line at a deli. The person in front of him noticed he was aching and obviously in pain, and the person in front of him suggested him to his chiropractor. And they kind of had that back and forth. Dr. Judd at that point, just a young man, really doubting what chiropractor could offer him because he had just been seeing one who hadn't been producing any results. This was after Dr. Judd had this horrible accident, which he goes over in this book. It's really quite interesting, the type of people and the reasons that you get brought to chiropractic. But I thought it was really a great idea that they included the fact that there are a lot of different types of chiropractors out there. There are those who truly were, cast to be chiropractors and feel that this is their calling and their why. There are ones that stumbled into it and they grew into that why and into that calling. And then there are ones who picked it just as a profession. And you still see that now, of course. You still see students going to that school now. And for some people, those who picked it as a profession aren't doing it for the right reasons, and therefore won't get the same great results that are ultimately helping their patients and helping humanity. So it was interesting that they chose to include that in the book because it's a very valid reflection. I mean, so many of us, I'm sure, know either horror stories that are maybe fabricated but maybe completely valid of chiropractors who didn't bring value to their patients. And I like that they acknowledge that because it's a very real issue. In any profession, someone who's not meant to be doing that, or someone who doesn't do that to the fullest extent that it should be done and doesn't do that job justice, it's not going to be a favor for that profession. And especially in chiropractic, where the history is already interesting. I can get into that in another video. I actually love the chiropractic history. By the way, I'm filming this on today. Today is September 18th. Chiropractic's 123rd birthday. Happy birthday! But I digress. I think it's great they included that in here. It's very real. Like, we will deal, as chiropractors, you will deal with people having had bad experiences with other chiropractors. So I love that he chose to include that and show that that was part of his own story. You know, why not be real with it? Ooh, something else that, and this was also Dr. Judd talked about, was the difference between the schools. I don't know how much I can and want to say about that, but all I'm going to say is, if you feel called to chiropractic in any manner, start diving into resources and reviews about schools, connecting with all the chiropractors you can, and learn about what kind of approach each school has, because there are schools who approach it more of a medical standpoint and schools who approach it with more of a what chiropractic is standpoint. Now, medical doctors and chiropractors are not the same thing, and for a good reason. So from my standpoint, and I think a shared standpoint of a lot of my colleagues, we don't want medical entrenching on the chiropractic colleges, but he included that a little bit in the book, and I'm glad he did, because it's a true concern. And if you don't know about it, then you won't know to have your guard up about it before you enter chiropractic school. And on that, they also talk at one moment about, they mentioned quickly about how colleges need to be most focused on the how, why, where, and when to adjust. Because one thing, especially here at the school I'm going to, it's an analyze and, am I jumbling it now? Oh man. Analyze and correct if necessary. You don't always go in for an adjustment, you go in for a check. Check and adjust. I was mixing the C's and the A's. Check and adjust if necessary. So the most important part is about being checked and seeing if you are subluxated, which is what we call interferences in the nervous system. Another thing that I appreciate that they threw in here was our real life experiences that help them, such as this one here that says, "I love the feeling that I get when I explain an x-ray to a person for the first time. The human body is so amazing, and it's a privilege that we chiropractors have to be able to share the explanation of how a person's body works with them." I think that's awesome. It's kind of a little insight about how even the simple, mundane, routine things that you do in a practice, such as explaining an x-ray to a patient, is an awesome opportunity to share what chiropractic does and to just show what you're truly doing for them, and that that can be a joy in your practice as well. I think that's really cool. Oh my gosh, yeah, so Liam's story was interesting, and he practiced in Peru a lot, still does, I believe, but he talks about how he really wanted to get involved with radio or some kind of media there, and he just essentially harassed them with faxes and stories and calls, and I think that's a great note, and that sometimes you just need to be persistent. And I guess maybe harass wasn't the right word, but you do have to be persistent to be able to get results sometimes when you're doing marketing. And he said one of the first opportunities he ever got was because someone said, "Fine, I'll let you on the radio show, but then stop calling me." Well, fun fact, that radio show segment became really popular for them, and he became invited back, and his media presence just grew from then on. So you never know what it can lead to, but you do have to be persistent. So I like that will actually lead me into the tip category. I like that they included that, because that's things you need to know from kind of any field, but especially as a chiropractor. We'll graduate and you don't have, what are they called, rotations? You don't have the same situations medical doctors do, where you can kind of be paired up with a hospital and I don't want to say have a job laid out for you, but as a chiropractor, you also have to be a business owner. So it's this whole different kind of world where you have to be really good at your job in a couple different ways, for sure. And in this book, they do touch on different things, such as looking for someone to complement your strong areas and your weak areas. Or talking about, in one thing is said here, I knew from experience, however, that whatever you feel the most in the world is exactly what you need to do if you want to advance in life. I mean, these are things that are true within and out of the chiropractic realm. Even this one here, having a mission many times bigger than yourself allows you to conquer doubts, fears, and issues of low self-esteem. I mean, I'll tell you what, if there's someone who doubts herself, it's me, which is valid and ridiculous all at the same time. But again, for chiropractic, having that why and knowing why I'm pursuing something and knowing that I'm on a mission so much bigger than myself, I don't really like phrases like that. Like that just sounds so preachy and cliche, but at the same time, it's true. You know, that will help to give me the courage to move forward and get past my own mind and past myself. I hope that my kind of going through my tabs of information here makes enough sense, but my point being though is that they go through and they share anecdotes that inspire, they share points of realness, and they share tips that are going to help you in the chiropractic world or outside of the chiropractic world, and I just really appreciate that. Now, as you can tell, I'm down to the cons. This is just my last follow-up tab. Well, we'll talk about that actually we'll talk about that last part now. The very end of the book kind of calls for a call to action about supporting your chiropractic mentors, realizing that you do have to be politically involved. Just read the book, it makes sense. But I like that they included that and that they ended the book with kind of a call to action. So, shall we talk about some cons? This is weird. This is like one of the parts for which I'm most excited. I'm not positive, but per me reading the copyright and whatnot, I'm pretty sure this was self-published. Nothing wrong with that, obviously. I've read the book twice. It makes me on fire for chiropractic every time. I love it. One thing I thought was really interesting in kind of a negative way is that they have a page here at the front that says a word of explanation. And the second line starts with, "This is not our story. It's a story of chiropractic." Forgive me. How is this anything but your story? I mean, is it also the story of chiropractic because the story of chiropractic is your story and vice versa? Yes. But at the core of it is chiropractic, but overall, like, this is very much two men's stories within chiropractic. So it's kind of like I see what they're saying, but on the flip side, you could easily just say, no, this is absolutely your guys' story. Why would you say it's not? So I thought that was interesting because to me, from first reading, second reading, I thought, yeah, it is your guys' story. Why wouldn't... Just because your story reflects and embodies something so much bigger, it doesn't mean that it's still not your story. I thought that was interesting. And what was this red guy here? Oh, there was one super sweet anecdote that was shared twice. And I'm talking within, I would say, probably 10 pages. It was shared twice. Exact same anecdote. It's a short story, so it's not like you can just think, oh, it's the same lesson taught two different ways. No, it's 2 sentences shared almost verbatim twice. And I just kind of think that was interesting. And in fact, even the last 2 chapters, or even just the last 2 sections for one of them, well, for Dr. Liam, let's be honest here, I felt like the last section and a half of his almost repeated itself, and within that, he shared that same anecdote about his mom completely twice. And maybe it's not a big deal. In fact, no, it's not a big deal, but it kind of left me thinking, did it mean to get cut out of one of the sections? Did you mean to have that there twice? But it wasn't some kind of monumental part of the story. It was just a reflection of his own progress. And so to me, that, while nice to include, is very much not the basis of this book and didn't need to be in there twice. So I thought that was kind of overkill, in all honesty. God, let it be known, I thought this video was going to be fewer than 12 minutes, and oh, honey, it's not. Can we talk about the cap? The cover. Again, maybe it doesn't matter. But something to me between the shadowy gold font, the red and black blocks, just kind of screams, I'm a part of a book, give me attention. When really this book touches about the essence and the beauty of chiropractic. And not to say that there's not a lot of power in that, oh, there is, but it's just, I almost feel like someone was really like craving attention and power when they designed this cover. I'm sorry, you're not here to offend you, but again, if I'm gonna review it, I'm gonna review it. I see this and it almost kind of like, let's just open it and get into the book. Because I don't feel like the vibe I get from this cover is the vibe I get from the inside. And part of me wants to say, yeah, but Sarah, could you do something better? Well, actually, maybe. I really think it could be just as powerful, if not even better. Just a simple white cover, gold font, maybe a thin outer shadowing of red, and then bold black at the bottom of their names and the word chiropractors. I don't know, to me, that just the simplicity of that, but then the subtle power feels like it could do a better job of communicating what actually is in this. And finally, with my critique, again, I don't know how much it costs to self-publish a book or to publish a book, but this retails for $40. I had this book sent to me, not from them, from someone else in the chiropractic community. And am I here to say it's not worth $40? No. I think about who should read this book, I think automatically the very first thing that comes to mind is chiropractic students, including pre-chiropractic students, current chiropractic students, and recent graduates. I can't explain how great this book is for you because it's an encouragement of their own story, yet it drops in enough realness to be relatable, and yet it's inspiring to make you realize, yes, this is why I'm doing that. So this is a great read for a student or a recent graduate. I also would say second up would be a chiropractor who just feels kind of burnt out and wants a refresher. And I would also highly suggest this for people, family, loved ones of chiropractors who maybe just don't quite get why and would like maybe a third-party source of why is my loved one so obsessed with chiropractic? This book can help. But if I may just say, thinking that chiropractic students should read this and knowing it's $40, I mean, maybe I'm a cheapskate, but I hesitate spending more than $20 on anything. If this were $19.99, I would suggest everyone to buy it. Absolutely. At $40, I still think you should buy it. But here's what I'm going to say, and this is where I kind of apologize to Dr. Judd and Dr. Liam, because I'm going to say, if you want to read this book, shoot me a message, I'll mail it to you. Let's start sending it around, because I believe what's more important than the authors making money is that this inspiration gets read. So, no, honestly, leave me a comment, shoot me a message on Facebook, Instagram, on YouTube here, let me know. We'll send it around. Why not? We'll do a little library situation here. You know, I just want people to read this. I've read it twice. With that being said, overall, I'm sure you can see from this video that I thoroughly enjoy this book. I think it's more than worth the read. I do have a couple slight issues with the ultimate edit, presentation, and price of it, but the content, grade A, absolutely. I think they did a great job. You know what, guys, if you ever decide to write another book, if you want someone to if you'd like someone to proofread it from a chiropractic student point of view, my email's down below. Why not? I'd love to. At this point, you might hate me. Can't see why, because I'm awesome. But just shooting out that offer, I volunteer. Because I know anything they'd write in the future would be awesome, just like this book. I think it's worth it, even at 40. I just think, God, $40 for a student, that sounds like a lot. Like, that's my week's food budget right there, to be honest. I think we're done here. I appreciate more than you realize you spending your time with me all the way to the end, because I really thought this was going to be much quicker than it turned out to be. I think it's tricky for me to make chiropractic videos because I literally could talk about it for hours, and so even when I think, oh, I'll just touch on some pinpoints, I end up going off on tangents and just talking about my favorite subject in the world, which, if I can just say, obviously I'm biased to thinking this is an awesome book because it's about my favorite subject, and they do a great job representing it. But I appreciate your time so much. If you've made it here and you're not yet subscribed, I'm pretty sure that means that you should subscribe, because that means that you can appreciate my content. And this is what I'm going to be doing. This is what I'm going to be sharing. If you don't like chiropractic stuff, hey, I also share lifestyle and travel stuff. There's that. All my other social media platforms are linked below. I need to go get a cupcake for chiropractic's birthday because I have this really cute Instagram photo idea. So now I can move forward with that. Thank you guys for joining me, and I'll see you in my next video next week.